Hello, thank you for joining. I am so excited about this live. I hope you folks find value in it. Hi, Candy.
Hi, I'm not sure if you can see me.
I can't see you, but I can hear you.
We are fumbling until we get this right.
Yep. And y'all are just gonna have to be patient with us and take us as we are. We might be lacking in some areas, but in some areas we're experts. So
It's a win-win situation.
it's a win-win situation, and we're giving you guys tips and tricks all for free. We ain't charging. All we just need is your time and for you to have your notebooks and taking notes and come prepared with questions. You know what? Can we just proceed? I can hear you clearly.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Yeah?
Let's do it.
Let's get Thank you, all 33 of you, for joining. Welcome to today's live session. This is going to be an interview, so I'm going to be referring to my notes. Also, I'm recording this for YouTube, so excuse the camera. Thank you so much for joining, guys. I'm your host, Lorraine, and if you haven't had this already, I am super excited for today's live because guess what? Today we've got a special guest. She's a dynamite in the remote sector, and thank you so much for agreeing, Candy, to go into this live with me. So Miss Candy is a seasoned tech recruiter. So for those of you who don't know, there are like business functions recruiters or support recruiters, and then there are those recruiters who are specifically in the tech world. So Candy is one of those tech recruiters. She has a stellar experience, a 7-year track in the remote world. She has experience hiring worldwide. And when I say worldwide, I really mean it. She has experience hiring from Africa, Europe, and the Americas. Her experience obviously goes beyond the borders, and she has a really amazing or cool way of navigating the tech talent landscape, not just locally, but also globally. So I really hope that you can soak in the wisdom that she's going to be dropping today, because I know for sure I'm going to be doing so. We are going to be semi-formal because me and Candy are former colleagues. We want to keep it fresh, light, and engaging. A little story time. How I actually came to know Candy is that when I was being recruited for Superside, Candy was the first person that actually reached out to us. I went over LinkedIn, checked who are Superside's employees, and I was like, yo, Candy, is this legit or not, whatever. And that conversation that we had with Candy, I don't know if you remember it, Candy, but that was the conversation that actually sealed my decision. After that conversation with you, I remember handing over my resignation letter. So thank you, Candy.
I'm super glad it worked out. And first of all, you've been so generous with my introduction. Gosh, is that all me? Because,
It is. You are all that and so much more.
Thank you so much. The first point of contact is usually the recruiter's job to ensure that at least you're comfortable, that you know it's not a scam, because there are scams out there. Let's just be realistic. And additionally, it's part of my job to answer any questions for you to actually hand in that resignation. So trust me, you thought I was being nice. I was working, Lorraine. I was just working.
Well, it didn't feel like working because the conversation was so smooth and I felt like I was talking to a friend. I remember, leaving that conversation telling my BFF like, yo, I think I'm going to be loving this company. But thank you so much for that. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey in the remote recruitment, and in particular, what inspired you to specialize in this field.
My journey essentially started around 7-8 years ago in talent acquisition, and in terms of remote working, it started 5 years ago. I started remote working before it was cool. Right now it's super cool to be like 100% remote, but I started when no one understood what I was doing. Everyone just thought I was sitting in front of my laptop speaking to myself, you know. So far, I truly appreciate that part of my journey because I see how the world is embracing remote working, from people not truly understanding what you actually do. For the longest time, I couldn't tell my sister or my brother, or they couldn't understand what I was doing because what do you mean you are working and you don't go anywhere? You get to work half naked. I don't work half naked, guys. I'm just giving an example. But you get to work in your pajamas, in socks. There's some days where you are completely in your own world, but still working. It's such incredible journey to see how the world is navigating both the remote working space and also accepting it. So yeah, my journey started 5 years ago. I joined a global agency where we were doing a lot of tech recruitment across around 32 markets. I then moved into Superside where we were working with Lorraine. And in that particular space, I was working Europe, the Americas, Africa, Asia, and so far so good. I can't say there's been a day I'm not learning something or I'm not challenged in a way that builds me up for tomorrow.
It's interesting, Candy, that you say you start working with socks on. Remote work is amazing. I know some people actually start to work even before you brush your teeth. You have your cup of coffee on your desk, but at the same time, you need to have boundaries. I mean, we can talk about that later. But I am a really strong believer that remote work is a game changer, not just for the employees or for the employers, but the country at large. Heck, even Africa, because I believe it's the first step in equalizing employment opportunities and the experience that you actually get in a remote worldwide setup. You cannot compare it to the experience you get locally. However, some controversy, some people might actually argue that the global north still have an upper hand because they're getting like cheaper labor in the African continent or even Asia, but we're not going to get into that. My question to you, Candy, is in your experience, what are some of the most sought after skills, particularly in remote positions?
Okay, so first of all, Africa is not the cheapest market. Everyone who says that clearly has not been exposed enough. We were one of the cheapest markets 3 to 5 years ago, but right now, Africa is actually on the brink of breaking even in terms of our salary scope and also the skills that we are bringing on board. Because Africa is one of the leading locations in terms of literacy. We are leading even against fast moving economies. There's some countries in the Americas that you can't compare to a region like the East African in terms of literacy, in terms of the technical capabilities that we actually have here in East Africa. So the fact or that myth that Africa is a cheap space to get talent is completely off. I just want to ensure that the audience does not feel like the organizations come to Africa to get cheap talent or labor. That's not the fact. They actually come here because one, we are a very diverse, we are a very fast moving region, and also our literacy levels speak for ourselves. We have skill set that go hand in hand in terms of regional understanding and the scope of work with countries like, in America, San Francisco. Our tech expertise, look at M-Pesa, some of the most brilliant minds that we currently have in Safaricom are actually East African born. Granted, we do get support from external parties or external regions, but with the basis of having a very strong foundation of talent in actual Africa, Kenya to be precise. And to answer your question in terms of some of the most sought after skills for remote positions range quite a lot with the industry preference. Before we get there, the digital literacy aspect is king. Not only evaluating the most sought after hard skills, we are also evaluating the most sought after soft skills. Things like self-discipline, like you've mentioned, effective communication, time management. Are you able able to actually work independently. Some of these things are what companies sort out first before going into the hard skills. I've seen a very huge boost in the telehealth sector, in the teletherapy sector. Additionally, we have the e-commerce space where digital marketing is booming. Digital marketing right now, for me, a very interesting place to look at because it encompasses everything from data science to software engineering, finance, marketing. And this, of course, has some scope in terms of the fintech space, the financial services. It's so varied.
I'm really glad that you brought about excellent communication skills because I have been preaching that in my videos. Literally every job that I post, there is always that bit of excellent communication skills, attention to details.
Yes.
And I think most people really underestimate the power of communication skills, how you pronounce your words, how you enunciate your words, presentation skills. I don't think I've been in a work environment that made me appreciate the presentations that we used to do over at uni as much as I have in a remote setup. I'm like, yo, university schooling helps.
I know what you mean. And like I said, digital literacy is king because in this particular space where we are from an employer perspective, no one wants to handhold you through Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, or a Google spreadsheet, or how to record a meeting.
Yeah? Can you hear me, guys? Can you see me? No, nobody wants to do that.
No one wants to do that. So digital literacy is literally king in terms of the remote working space. Something else I feel like not everyone is super keen on is how you actually present yourself and also how you present your professionalism. There's no way I'm going to take you serious if your background is in a market. No way I'm going to take you serious. So it's how you present yourself holistically. You can be a fantastic communicator. You can have a lot of what I'm looking for, but in terms of digital literacy, in terms of digital presentation, is where a lot of employers really draw the line. If at all you're doing that in an interview, how are you going to work on a day-to-day basis? Are you going to work from a market? Like, what's the setup like? Are you truly prepared for the remote environment? And if you are, showcase that. Have excellent Wi-Fi. It's very little minute things that truly speak on both your professionalism, but also how well prepared you are for that particular world, especially if you're coming from, an old school working environment to now a remote working space.
I totally agree with you, Kendi. And there's a question, we can talk about skills a little bit more, but I just want to tell you this. I am a huge proponent of, if you don't have the experience, upskill. Like, just go onto those free platforms and learn presentation skills, learn project management, like whichever field you want to get into, upskill and get those certificates. You can upskill through Coursera, Amazon Web Services. There is LinkedIn that I think can be free sometimes, I'm not sure. And then there's Allison. So just, if you have a phone, I always say, if you're able to get onto TikTok, if you've got like an IG account, you can get onto Coursera and learn a skill like for 20 hours and get yourself a certificate. That's it. Invest in yourself. Let's move on to the next question. And I'm going to be biased because this is part of what I do. I do CV revamps, and one of my selling points is always, I've got experience in the remote world, so I know what recruiters are looking for. So I'm going to remotify your resume. I want to know from your end, Kendi, do you have any tips on acing a job interview?
Yes, so speaking of CVs, right now, especially I'll speak purely on a global remote perspective. A lot of organizations have ATSs that actually sieve CVs. It's not the best practice, but that's the reality of the situation. So your CV is actually going to go through a system and a process before it even gets to someone's desk or gets to be seen by anyone. So what I usually advise, or some of my key pointers, is have a very ATS friendly CV. Always have that. Do your research. Like, light research doesn't hurt. Click the apply link. See what ATS or see what job application system an organization is using, or how well it's ranked in terms of being ATS or being like a friendly to applicants system. That's my first tip. The second tip is always highlight relevant skills. Like you said, you deal with CVs on a day-to-day basis. Same here. And I can tell you for a fact, the amount of CVs that pass through my eyes in terms of relevant skills and experiences, 15%. So you'll find this person is actually very good at what they do. They match exactly what they have applied for, but this will only come out once I've spoken to them. At a glance, it's not clear. Having or highlighting relevant skills and experiences goes a long way, because that is the first step for you to actually get an interview, to showcase everything else.
And I like what you actually say, that, and you're being very transparent and honest with us. Someone can be actually really good, can be actually a good fit for the job once you engage them in an interview. But when you're just looking at their resume, which recruiters spend like what, 6 seconds just this one no, oh this one yes. So it drives the point home even more that you do need to have an awesome resume. You need to invest in your resume, because literally that is what is selling you to the recruiter.
Exactly.
I'm seeing like good comments like, this is an awesome session. Yeah, thank you. In your opinion, Kendi, what industries are currently booming right now? I know you spoke about digital marketing. Aside from digital marketing, is there any other industry, any function that is booming at the moment?
Yes, we have the software engineering space, and industry right now is very intricate in terms of industry. So you'll find software engineering in manufacturing, the medical space. We are realizing that if we don't go digital in a lot of the old school industries, like medical engineering right now is a thing. So you'll find profiles who have a very strong software engineering background jumping into very old industries and revolutionizing it. Data, everything from data analysis. We are in the data age. So data analysis, data engineering, data science, data reporting, analytics in general is a very huge space, and it's booming because every organization wants to have a very data-centered strategic way of thinking. Not every organization has it. So we are in that space where organizations are building that capability of evaluating everything. If it's sales, operation, distribution, how exactly are we doing it? What can we get from our numbers? So everything from analysis, reporting, everything in that space can be applied in so many industries, and it's booming right now. Right now, the going wage or the going salary for an entry-level data scientist is the same as a doctor. Dude, it's the same as a doctor. Yeah.
Wow.
So that should really sort of show you how much weight that space is holding. And I'm not saying that a doctor is not important, guys. No. I'm saying we are in an era where the digital world is slowly overpowering our actual world. And if we don't take advantage of it, of course, we are going to be left behind.
I really like that information about data analyst salaries being the same as a doctor's. I didn't know that. Mind boggling. Wow. But I feel like even as you're going into like other functions, like say sales, like HR, marketing, etc., or customer success, you bring out a really important point that you do need to know how to analyze data, how to analyze information. So I don't have to necessarily like register for a data analyst, of course, because I'm gonna get lost, truth be told. However, I can work on my Excel skills. I can work on,
Yes.
knowing like what is a VLOOKUP, how do I tables, and just know how can I present this data, how can I interpret and analyze this data to come up with either solutions or conclusions that actually make
Yes.
business sense. So that's what I'm hearing you say.
Exactly. And it can be applied to a lot of the regions or a lot of the industries that are coming up. Say, for instance, branding. We have so many AIs, sort of platforms that are coming up that could help anyone who has just a keen interest in growing or digital enhancement to get their career to the next stages. It's not just on one particular scope, that is data analysis. It's so wide and so varied.
I like what you're saying.
Yes.
Awesome. So there were some questions on the comment section. One, how many pages should a CV be? And I've got my opinion on that, but I want to hear yours, Candy.
So again, we as recruiters don't have a lot of time, guys. I know it doesn't look like that, but
Louder. Let them hear that. Continue. Sorry.
faced with 1,000 CVs, my ideal page would be 2, maximum 3. If you can summarize everything in one page, I would love you for the rest of my life. But in cases where we have very experienced profiles, I'd say maximum go 2, 3.
I mean, I've been looking at some resumes. Someone with 1 year experience has like 2-3 pages. Like, why? Why do you have 2-3 pages?
One.
I know 1 page is enough, and like Candy said, if you got an extensive experience like hers, like mine, 2 to 3, good. And
Yes.
the other thing that, oh my word, your resume sometimes just give me headaches. I still see people putting their profile pictures, and I keep on saying, you don't need to be seen to be hired. Remove those pictures.
Yes.
Like, why? Your marital status, why? Postal address, it's a remote opportunity.
Yes.
Why?
Your ID. Don't add your ID on a CV. Don't do that because it not only exposes you to quite a lot of risks out there, it also exposes the organization, because right now we have very strict data laws. Whenever I've come across a CV that has an ID number, our laws are you need to go back to the person and ask them to remove the ID and send it back. Because then I'm being privy to information that I did not ask for. I just wanted your CV, your experiences, it ends there. And also, this is the Constitution of Kenya saying on contractual agreements. Anything other than that, you're not supposed to share your ID.
And it also gives you like double work, right, Candy? Because now you have to go back to the person and be like, remove your ID. Like, you don't have time. Like you already mentioned, you don't have time. You've got like 10-15 roles to fill. Just, guys, do yourself a favor. Moving on, remote work is not without its challenges, of course. And Candy, I want to know from your perspective, what are some of the obstacles that candidates face and how can they overcome them? Aside from not having great resumes, like you already mentioned 1,000 times.
Some of the obstacles I'm seeing candidates face, especially in our region, and by our region I mean Kenya to be specific, is first of all not having ATS-friendly CVs. Tailoring a CV to a job is as important as having a conversation with the person who's hiring. Also, additionally, not being fully prepared and not doing enough research into any organization. I'm a very firm believer of you are as prepared as your next opportunity, or your next opportunity only comes to you as much as you are prepared. Not being fully aware of some of the time zones that you're applying the job to, because most employers are not looking for someone who's working nights when everyone else is asleep. And sleeping days when everyone else is working. So being fully aware that sometimes the time aspect is a crucial factor.
I like that you bring up the concept of time zones, or the issue of time zones, because most of the DMs that I get is really like, hey, can I get a part-time job? I've got another job. Can I do this on the side? And I'm like, I post full-time remote jobs. And that means you're going to have to be probably yes, it's flexible schedules, right? But you're going to have to put in like 8 to 6 hours on day in, day out on a job. And particularly for remote companies, things like work-life balance, employee wellness are huge for them, that no one wants you to be working when you should be sleeping, because that not only affects your productivity, but then it affects like the entire culture and how you feel about that company and your employee experience, which they take seriously. So I like that you bring that up. Let's move on. Quick question. Any horror stories or funny stories that you have encountered? I remember, and the reason why I want you to share this, because I want people to know that it is normal to sometimes like doubt yourself or like imposter syndrome. Because I remember when I first joined Superside and it was onboarding, I'm with a group of, I think we're like 50 or something. I'm with a group of genius designers and engineers, and people are talking about Slack, about design, branding, whatever. I am over here from a manufacturing setup. We had IT guys. I am struggling with my computer. Like, I am so clueless. That was the most stressful session. The session that we had to create a design and then post it on Slack. That was my most stressful session. And I remember thinking, like, how did I find myself here? And, starting to doubt, am I in the right place? Am I not? But I think the things that got me through was how supportive, everyone was. And they're like, we know you're not designers. Some of you are not designers, some of you are. And just creating space for everyone. So I remember just getting into Canva, creating a design and then posting. But after that, it was not a cool breeze. The first month was hectic. But after that, I always felt support. And I remember Kingi getting into a meeting with like a huddle. I'm like, what is a huddle? How do we do that? Same with this. And it's okay to not know everything. So long as your company creates a space for you. So I don't know if you have like a funny story or experience, Katie.
I do. I have so many. Oh my god. So my first one is I like memes. So and my intention was to share a specific screen, but there was another page that had specific memes. Let's just say the team saw all my memes. I like memes. I store them. I just those days when you're down, you just go through them and you haha. So yeah, essentially my everyone saw my meme storage page. And it worked out in the end, because we then created a whole
channel
group of meme sharing. Yes.
I was gonna ask, were you the reason why we had like a whole meme Slack channel? Yeah, now I know where that came from.
It was so embarrassing, because I was just speaking about that particular page, the work page, but in actuality, this other page is just right there in everyone's faces. It was so embarrassing, but yeah, it worked out in the end.
I mean, at least in the end, you learned how to share a screen and a window. You knew the difference, right? Just a learning moment.
Yes, it was.
Doris is asking, no, she's stating that Coursera has like a 7-day window for free courses. You can check out others. I personally prefer LinkedIn. I don't know if because I have paid for premium and I see value in it, but I do prefer LinkedIn. However, there are other sites like Allison, like Skillshare, I believe, AWS, Amazon Web Services. Is there remote jobs for people without experience? Yes. Madabo? Yes, there are. I have actually posted a number of openings that require no experience, other internship openings as well. I was so shocked, Kendi, that these days, or maybe that's not what I was looking for, but I found internship opportunities that are hiring people remotely and worldwide. So you just want to know where to search.
Research.
And you really stress that point. So guys, invest in your time and research. So yeah, Candy, let me know a quick answer that comes to your mind. Best virtual collaboration tool?
Slack.
Yay! Top remote job interview tip.
Be smart, have a background that portrays who you are.
I like that. I like that. You do need to be presentable because most of the time people are basing off on what they see, like you're very visual beings. So you do need to be presentable. Your most favorite thing about remote recruitment?
Multitasking. I can soothe my toddler and also I can work or do a lot of things while still working and raising my kid.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I think for me, it is yes, that, but also I love interacting with people and I love, yes, I'm an introvert, but I do love how the brain works and just, interacting with different cultures. So yeah, that plus the diversity, the cross-cultural interactions that you get, love it. Madabo says on your CV you put anything, whatever experience you have. Yes, Madabo, put you whatever experience you have. Make sure it is in line with the application that you're sending, like with the job that you're applying to, yeah? Like Kenny said, you're not just applying to jobs haphazardly. We need to be strategic about it. And there's really importance of having your resume to be ATS friendly. So bear that in mind. Oh, how do you do the hat sign? That is so kind.
You're such a millennial.
Clearly I'm a millennial. That was so kind and generous of you, Kendi. So Aggie, I hope you can connect
I
with
know the
Kendi.
struggle. It's not been easy for recruiters, trust me.
I want to give like a huge shout out to Kendi. Kendi, do you have any final words for our awesome TikTok community?
I'd say don't be shy of these global organizations. Don't be shy of those roles. Apply to them. The worst thing that could happen is for you to be rejected. And again, imposter syndrome is only in your head. So as much as, yes, they are global organization with different regional scope, just know that your experience also matters and it speaks a lot in terms of what the organization is looking for and how you can actually bridge a gap at any level. So go for it. The worst thing that could happen is for you to get a rejection, and you can only get so many rejections before you get an acceptance.
Whenever I get into like my consultation calls, I always ask someone, why are you looking for a remote job? It's important to me that you understand the reasons as to why you're looking for a remote job. Without you understanding your why, knowing your why and truly believing in your why, you can get frustrated. Because you're not just looking for the job locally. It's not just in Kenya. It is globally. So you do need to understand why you're actually looking for a job. And I like that you said, Kendi, apply for the jobs when you see you're qualified. I always say if you meet 60% of the qualifications, send in that application. Send it in.
Yes.
Let them reject you. And in any case, a rejection is a redirection. And it shows you whatever you're doing right, whatever you're doing wrong, so you know where you are at. I want to thank you so much for joining this live. I hope you enjoyed the session as much as I did.
I really have.
We should do this more often. I don't know.
Yes.
We'll see what we'll do.